Welcome to the Pickleball Guru's newest webinar. I'm Randy Manaply, and I'm here with the original traveling pickleball coach and author of the two best-selling books, Smart Pickleball and Drop Shot Till You Drop.
Hello, Guru Nation. Welcome again.
And you'll see a third box on the screen. We're also joined by Jasper, Indiana's own Liz G., a former bootcamp participant who is going to add to the mix today. Welcome, Liz.
Hey, thanks for having me, Randy. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. Hi, friends.
Hey, welcome, Liz.
Hi, how are you, Frame? Good to see you again.
This webinar is all about the mental part of the game. We're going to discuss how to stay focused on the game and the point, as well as strategies to overcome these challenges, and we'll end on the dreaded yips. First up, in general, how do you keep your mental focus in a game, Prem?
It's an excellent question, really. It's really about blanking out what really happened the moment before or the point before, and really focusing on what is going to happen at this given moment. That's all you have control over anyhow. And focusing on just that next point, how you develop that point, rather than worrying about have you missed the past shot. So that's one important thing, is that really focus is an important part. We'll talk a lot later on about strategies, but at this given moment, it's about focusing on what is right now, and rather than worrying about what had happened, rather than dwelling on our past, on the mistakes we might have committed.
Now, let's move on to specifics. Let's say that you're ahead in the game, say 9-4. How do you not lose focus on the points that you're playing, knowing that you're only 2 points away and you got a pretty sizable lead?
That's another excellent question, Randy. Again, focus is the point. It's very easy to lose focus when you are ahead and knowing like, oh, we think like, okay, we've got this one, and so then we tend to lose focus and completely go off track, rather than thinking about the game. As I said, like every point, you just focus on that point at that given moment and say, okay, it's not about finishing. It's not even about the outcome of the game. It's really right there, being present for that moment and trying to execute the shot you want to execute at any given moment, rather than looking at if you're ahead or you are behind. Either way, you want to still remain focused on executing that shot and leaving all the stories behind.
One point at a time, right, Frame?
That's right. 1 point at a time and one step at a time.
Now let's reverse that. You're behind 4-9. What should you be focusing on?
The answer is the same. Remain absolutely focused on the point, rather than just focusing on anything behind you, because you can't really control what has already happened. As I often tell you, Randy, in our business conversations, control the controllables. What has happened is no more under your control. What can be done at this given moment is the only thing you can do. So that from that particular point of view, I think it's like, again, just focusing on how you can do the next point, and how you can construct that point in a way which would be more favorable to you. I personally like those being behind and then being able to pick up the game from the behind point, because it allows me to absolutely focus on the game. I think personally, I have probably won more tournaments from behind than from being ahead.
It definitely brings out the laser focus to do that way.
That's right.
I find
it's an easier focus for me personally, like thinking like I have nothing to lose. So, and I think that is the focus you want to have, is you have nothing to lose. Either you are ahead or you are behind. You have nothing to lose, just play, because it's only a game of pickleball ultimately.
The other thing I'll add is, especially when you're down, in our case 4-9, you're not going to get those 5 points back all at once. So you really have to focus on that point in front of you and just take them one step at a time. or take them one point at a time.
That's right. That's when there's only, as I said, it's the only one point you can think of, or the next point you can think of, and how you can execute it. It happens in every type of games, even in the higher level competitive players, or sometimes you whatever it is, you're strung really tight, and you're having a hard time actually relaxing into a shot. It becomes really, really hard, because we tell ourselves a lot of stories, and then it just becomes harder and harder to focus. At that point, you just have to blank your brain out and just think of, like, okay, this is what I can do. It's not about beating someone else, it's not about anything else, but just about how you can keep the ball in play on the court.
And before we get into the meat of this webinar, I'd like to ask Liz a few questions about her experience at the boot camp she attended. Liz, why did you and a bunch of other ladies from your area select Prame's boot camp?
Well, we were looking for somewhere to go in the wintertime. We live here in beautiful Jasper, Indiana, but in January and February, it's a bit chilly. So we were looking to go somewhere with a little bit warmer weather and play pickleball. And we knew someone, one of the ladies knew someone who had read the Smart Pickleball book. And guess who wrote that? Prame, which we all refer to very often now. The Smart Pickleball book, I was not familiar with it personally. I had seen some of the Pickleball Guru videos, but we all got to talking, and we initially had 2 people, then we had 4, and then we knew we got the discount, and we're like, oh, we had 6, and it worked out that we could have all 8 of us from Jasper come down to Vero Beach, and it just worked out wonderfully. We got a house and just had a great time. It was fantastic, and we were so impressed. The book is wonderful, even better after you've done the actual boot camp, because it just goes through it. Every time I read parts of it, I literally think back of all the different situations that Prame had us go through, and the personalization that was there. I remember when so-and-so was stepping backwards and at the kitchen line, and he's like, no, don't do that. So it's almost like a little bit of a kind of memoir now that I have the book and I've got it all earmarked and highlighted, and all the things that we learned. It was just a wonderful experience.
And what was the most eye-opening part of boot camp for you?
For me personally, so a lot of the ladies, we all play together regularly here in Jasper. We have some great courts here. And I've been playing for about 5 years, and my skill level has gotten better, but it hasn't been because of training. It's been because of just playing and playing with different groups, and a couple tournaments here and there. So I was very surprised every time I went to answer a question that I was answering it incorrectly in the way that Prame was teaching Smart Pickleball. So I learned a lot. I was doing the things that helped me with the same concepts he was teaching, but I was doing them like kind of the opposite. So it was very, very helpful to me in my game. I loved it.
Can you give an example of that, please?
I can. Holding your paddles up.
Yeah.
Right, Prame? That's what we do. Paddles up, up and out. And I literally was, when you're at the kitchen line and you got those hard balls coming at you, and you want to like soften. I was my fingers, and he recommends letting go with your thumb so that you still have the stability. Pretend there's a paddle here.
Right.
Stability of the paddle in your hand, and you're not going to lose it or lose control of the actual hit that you're trying to make. It was amazing.
And overall, what did you enjoy about the boot camp breakthrough experience?
Loved the culture that Prame actually teaches with. I was very, very inspired by how he broke us down. And first, he took the time to assess us, let us play, let us do our thing that we came with, our skills. Then he actually paid very close attention to the personalization of just the 8 of us, and being able to know where our weaknesses and strengths were in such a short time at the beginning of the boot camp. And then he literally broke down our bad habits, so that basically by Sunday, we didn't know how to play pickleball anymore, but then built us back up with the skills that were important to play smart pickleball. And I was so inspired that now I am working toward getting my coaching and teaching certification for beginners and intermediate. So I'm just thankful.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
sweet.
And to
Yeah, I
kind of
so
cap
appreciate it.
and to
Yeah.
kind of cap it off, you enjoyed it so much and got so much out of it that you wanted Prem to come to Jasper and hold a clinic and a boot camp. Tell us a bit
I
about Jasper.
Yes, so Jasper is a quaint, small little town, kind of nestled in southern Indiana, rolling hills, really within driving distance of Cincinnati, Ohio, Nashville, Tennessee, St. Louis, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky. So it's a really good spot. And thankfully, graciously, Frame added our Jasper, Indiana to his schedule for this year in July. And I'm so glad that it worked out to do that. And we currently are offering, are offering the clinics and the boot camp in July. And our little town of 16,000 people get to represent the Midwest in
Mhm.
learning how to play smart pickleball.
That's so sweet. Absolutely sweet.
It's exciting. People are really getting pumped up. We're about 60 to 70 days out from the event, and we've got signups are really kicking in. Randy, I know you have information about that, but we're really excited about it.
Right. We've already got 2 participants signed up for the boot camp, and the clinic is starting to fill up.
Right. It's so great. And I know the boot camp, literally, I mean, it's fewer people are allowed to be in it, but the atmosphere of that boot camp is just anyone that signs up for it has not done one before will be amazed. I was literally, you go with a bunch of girls to a place and you're going to go hang out and be in a house and you think, oh, there'll be a little bit of beverage drinking and socializing and maybe some shopping and oh, we'll play some pickleball. Well, it was really the pickleball was the highlight. And
Mhm.
I really got way more out of it than I expected.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's
Yeah, it was great. It was so great. And Prem, he's just and I know you're on here, so I'm not like talking about you, Prem, but you're just a delight in how you teach it from a neutral angle so that any person can get the best out of where their strengths and weaknesses are. It's just very, very well instructed.
I appreciate that, Liz. I really do.
Yeah. So I hope people that are watching this will be excited to come to Jasper, Indiana. It's a German heritage town. It is a great place to raise a kiddo and to play pickleball. We have 6 brand new outdoor pickleball courts at a place called Boner Park, and we have 4 others. So we have 10 outdoor courts that people utilize all the time. It's a growing outdoor activity here. Lots of families, lots of different types of skilled folks playing pickleball. We really love it.
Excellent. And that's all about Jasper. That's coming up in July. There'll be more information on that below in the comments, links to all the registrations and everything. And moving on to the rest of our boot camp schedule. This month, over the weekend of May 13th, we have 1 spot left for the Richmond boot camp, and our boot camp express is sold out for the weekend of May 21st. Other upcoming boot camps and clinics include Denver in June, which, by the way, the boot camp is sold out, but there's space available in the clinic, and the aforementioned Jasper in July and Charlotte in August. Stateside boot camps are $19.97, but if you use coupon code webinar, you get $500 off for the best and most individualized boot camp available. Lots of other camps have literally dozens of participants with lots of coaches. Our boot camps only allow 8 participants to ensure that you get that individualized attention from Prem and you don't get lost in the shuffle. And if you want your boot camp with an international flair, we have Costa Rica coming up in November and Sandals in Jamaica. As I mentioned, information about all these boot camps and clinics can be found at our website, and you can view links to everything I mentioned below down in the description. Plus, if you're coming with a partner as a foursome for the stateside boot camps, you get an even bigger discount. My email will be down below, so if you're interested, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. Now let's get back to the webinar. How do you keep from getting frustrated with your partner, Prem?
It's a wonderful question again, Randy. You seem to be shelling out a lot of wonderful questions for this webinar. How do you don't get frustrated with your partner? I don't think if you really look into it, it's mostly about you being frustrated with yourself rather than being frustrated about your partner. It feels like as if it's your partner is doing something wrong, but generally, I always say when you're playing as a team, you're only as good as your partner is. So it goes the other way around too. Um, So it's not about, there are days when you're on and there are days you're off, but you win and lose as a team. Um, so there's nothing to be frustrated about your partner. No one comes on a pickleball court thinking that they are going to do something differently or awkward or awful. They're trying their best at that given day. They're trying their best of whatever they are. No one is trying to hit the ball into the net. They are trying to put the ball over the net, and it might not work that particular day. Or so it's not about your partner; it's about you enjoying the process rather than thinking about your partner. Yeah, else to say on that one, Liz?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I've learned that it matters who your partner is, but it also matters communication and helping each other be better off the court when you're playing, before you're playing. So drills, drills, drills. That's where I'm at now. I love it.
And Prem, you have an interesting take on the overall mental part of the game, meaning the stories that we tell ourselves. Explain that.
Well, it's not only me. I think a lot of people, over the years of coaching, what I've realized with people, most of the stories is like, oh, I don't want to let my partner down. It's one of the biggest ones you hear all the time. I'm playing so awful, or that's another one. It's like, oh, it's not how I play normally. This is so bad. And they have a lot of stories like that. I don't want, one of the most important one is like not letting your partners down. And it's not about letting your partner down. It's about you playing your game no matter what. That's where you are. And enjoying that process when you are where you are. And your partner has no real pull on it. They can't do much about it. Yes, they can help you out if they can, but they might not be able to, because that's where they are. And so the whole process of the stories of telling ourselves that that we are going to be let down by someone else is not actually true, because you really can't. In any human relationships, as we know, like sometimes something which some other person does might disappoint you, but that's not really related to what that person did or did not do. The disappointment is something internally, which is inside of you. You are having to deal with your own disappointment about how you wanted to experience it. So it's not about, so it's rather than telling yourself the story that you're disappointed with yourself, or you're disappointed that it might affect someone else, just own it, and just as I said, blank that part of your, that type of stories internally, and just really focus on what can you do at this given moment in a small step. Like, what could you do to make yourself more happier than where you are?
Yes, I really think that perspective of thinking you're going to let your partner down keeps folks from playing with people that are better than them. And that's really how you get better, is by putting yourself in situations where it is going to be a little challenging, instead of being afraid of that. Kind of just step up and do your best.
That's right.
And you're saying get out of your comfort zone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That answer your question about getting out of your comfort zone?
Yes. See, my problem is I like my comfort zone.
Randy,
So-
get on out of there.
So I don't like to get out of my comfort zone. I like comfort. So let's move on to the dreaded yips. First off, Prem, what are the yips?
Well, I'll give the platform to Liz. Maybe Liz will be able to answer what a yips is.
Oh no, I don't know if I know. you talk first and I'll add in.
Again, another mental freezing which happens, and when that happens, oftentimes you see players just not, what they were able to do forever and ever, they can't do it, and it can just a mental freeze, like they can't serve anymore. That's one of the common ones you see, is like they just get into this freeze mode, and for the next 1 week, 2 weeks, even I even recently met a woman who for 2 months she couldn't serve. She just couldn't. She has an excellent serve, uh, but she just lost it. She just couldn't get it back, and then more and more does it, and more it gets into her head, and it happens actually at every level, at the highest professional levels, to all the way down to the low level players. I've seen them all struggle at some point, like all of a sudden they just, and but again, that is not related to a technical issue. It is more related to the mental part. It's the mental part, like, I can't do it, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with it, and you keep reinforcing that story in you about, like, I'm struggling and I'm struggling and there's no way you can get out of it. Drilling, was Liz said, is one part of it, explaining and getting that, but at that given moment, you just have to blank and remain focused on the next thing you can do rather than stuck with it. Yes, I can absolutely help with some strategies, but I think most importantly, I would want them to really stop telling themselves the stories they say to themselves, which is not helpful.
No, and now I know what you're talking about. I didn't realize that's what it was called, but I've seen people and I've actually helped people that do that, and they literally bury themselves in self-doubt and ridicule and keep themselves from letting go of that. They really just have to relax and just play, right? And stop focusing on the negative that is keeping them from being successful at the serves or whatever hit that they feel like they're not accomplishing well. Keep hitting it into the net. And it really is I believe it is a mental thing. Yeah.
Randy, do you remember in US Open, one of the pro players who struggled, who got into a yips, and I had to correct that one with her. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. That was Gerke, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Um, Cassandra, and she just totally struggled. She plays in the professional division, and she just couldn't. It was She started on reinforcing the story. I couldn't get it and couldn't get it. So we went through a few strategies, and finally she was able to play and relax herself into it, and then go back to her regular serves when she finally felt confident enough to do so.
I love how he tackles that and just looks at it, kind of steps back for how he's teaching and like takes it, kind of breaks it down and allows the person to work through the issue. The way his technique of actually coaching, it's amazing. You don't feel like you don't feel being like you're being ridiculed or criticized. And I'm not saying in the boot camp that he wouldn't occasionally growl or yell. I mean, there was a little bit of that, but it was all done for the benefit of our improvement and our self-reflection. It was just done very, very well. So I can see why the pros love to have him coaching.
Yeah, you buried my lead on that because I was going to mention that he does growl at the boot camps. He calls it growling.
I know what he calls it, but I remember what. And we all talked about that. All of us ladies that, I mean, we would go home that night and go, oh, we got yelled. Every single one of us had things that we needed to pay attention to. And that was his way of getting our attention to not keep repeating the bad habits. Right. So it was all done in very, very improvement and growth way. So we enjoyed every second of that boot camp.
Yeah, he has a very good knack at doing it very well. So that way you don't feel stupid or anything like that. But he just, because Crane wants you to be better.
Yes.
And so he knows that if he doesn't call these things out on you and doesn't mention these things to you, you're going to keep doing the same things over and over again.
Right.
Like you mentioned, it's, when you came to boot camp, you thought you knew a lot of stuff, and then you realize, oh, maybe I didn't know as much stuff as I did. And
I really think, I learned just by showing up and playing and with our usual groups. And I really think that and this is why I'm inspired to teach and coach at a lower level, because I really believe that, gosh, if people could get to where I'm at now quicker, like, and not have to go through all that and learn things the wrong way just to be compensating for either what your partner is doing or not doing, or all the different things. I learned to poach, but I learned to poach because people stopped hitting to me, right? And they were beating up on my partner, or different things that you do can be, I mean, you can just learn so much more the smart pickleball way. in such a quicker amount of time. It's amazing to see the technique. It's very well done.
Excellent. Special thanks and shout out to Liz for joining us today. And stick around for an inside look at boot camp, especially why past participants like Liz took the Guru's boot camp and how much they enjoyed it. And as I mentioned, links to the camps and clinics are available down below in the description, as well as my contact information if you have any questions. That's all I have. Do you have any other questions for Prem, or Prem, do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, I do want to elaborate a little bit on the yips spot, especially like what was that I had given as a suggestion,
Okay.
and a few other things you could do to relax yourself. One of the important things is obviously a deep nasal breath. When I mean nasal breath, it's really breathing from your nose and actually expelling from your nose. Why is it different from breathing out from your mouth? Is like most of the breathing which you have done sort of expels very quickly out of your mouth, whereas when it is through the smaller cavity of your nose, a lot of your oxygen stays inside. And it's a very different, actually, when you try and practice it, you will realize like when you're doing it with your mouth, like most of the breath, when it does that, it actually raises your shoulder, which actually tightens up your shoulder. Whereas when you're doing a nasal breath, that's actually, you don't do that. Really, it doesn't pump up your thing, but it just stays in there. So it allows more oxygen to flow into your system, which allows you to relax. So even 3 deep nasal breathing would allow you to relax a lot more. When you are trying to focus, it allows you to be much more present at any given moment. That's one important suggestion strategy for being able to relax into your focus point. So that's one aspect of it. There are a few other things. If you go down to a grocery store and some of the health food stores, you will find a little pastille, which are little tablets, which are actually gummies, which are called Richard's Rescue Remedy, which I talk about that in the book, which is also another thing we can chew, which allows you to sort of chill out, relax. There's no drugs in it, but it's a more a relaxant, which allows you to be much more relaxed and not tighten up a lot. But breathing is a very important one, as you know, like in our day-to-day lives, when we go through tensions, and the easiest way to relax is oftentimes you don't really realize it. You do it, you sigh, you just sigh because you just want to relax into it. Just breathing into it allows you to sort of expel a lot of that tightness which you have in your body. And as I said, more oxygen in your system allows you to have more clarity in thought process. So that's one of the important tools I would like you to work on when you're really tight. Like just take a couple of deep breaths. You see that happen in tennis players when they are between serves. They serve. In fact, Maria Sharapova, one of the top women players in tennis, used to do that. She would turn around and she would actually turn her back to her opponent before she serves and take this deep 3 deep breaths and then turn around before she starts serving or receiving, allowing her to relax into the shots to have some clarity. So something which you want to think of when you're doing that. You've heard also, and this is something which I've heard from another famous coach named Coach Mo. When tennis players are hitting balls, you hear, especially in the women's side, you will hear them make a large sound when they're striking the ball, sort of expelling while they strike the ball. Have you heard those, Liz? I don't know if your son does it when he hits the ball. It's sort of like
Yeah.
a type of noise sometimes, but it is sort of a timing, but also at the same time, it's sort of like just
Yeah.
that allows you to just sort of relax into it every time you do and breathe in and breathe out. It's a very simple technique. Hindus call it the Vipassana. Just a deep breathing technique will allow you to relax into your game. So that's one suggestion I would definitely make.
That's a great suggestion. And I'm a yoga practicer as well. And the breathing is super important, though I get accused of, I have a wide arm span. So I always give credit to yoga for that, because I'm able to stretch and move right at the net there. And I love that. But the breathing is super important, not only in my game, but yes, my son, he's a tennis player for varsity, and he definitely uses that. And he actually is doing yoga now. I don't know that I mentioned that, but he had started yoga over the winter, and he's learning a lot more about how his body can relax and be able to play at a higher level in his tennis game. So great advice.
Sweet. Anything
I
else,
did.
Brad?
Ooh, yeah, I wanted to ask a question of you, Prem.
Yes.
There's a hot topic going on right now about a certain paddle that was banned. And it just happened all of a sudden. I've seen it in a lot of the different, I'm asking because you had given us a lot of great information on paddles, and a lot of those ladies have all gotten their new paddles and different ones, and a lot of them have the same paddle. You talked about a couple of them that they're really focused on, but there's a paddle that has been banned with the USAPA like very quickly, and the company is responding very wonderfully, it seems, but they aren't getting response from USAPA. Do you have any comments on that? Or I don't remember that particular one being, and I'm not going to say the name in case it's not appropriate, but just wanted to find out what your thoughts were on that and that whole process. It just seemed kind of odd because there are a lot of people that had purchased that particular paddle.
That's a wonderful question. Actually, recently, I think as of yesterday, I think there was a newsletter which went out from Pickleball Rocks, which had with the Rodney Rocket Grubbs explaining it very much in detail, which basically talked about how it was a very harmonious transition between the company as well as the Pickleball, US Pickleball Association, which basically had come down together. Whatever the testing was done when it was approved was perfectly fine, but after that, whatever that came out was not any more in specs. And after multiple testing in and out, even their version 1, 2, and 3, all of them had they were off specs, and was definitely not in accordance to the rules set by USAPA. And so they basically came together, and the company responded beautifully on saying, okay, we will correct this one and try and do it. So they're working on the process right now on redoing the new ones with the specs,
With
and
the
then
surface, yeah, it was a surface thing, right?
yes,
Yeah,
it's it's going to be retested again,
design. Okay,
retested, so that they, once they get it approved, then it'll be back on the market, I hope. It's a company which I saw some of the players using it and really were pushing hard for me to try and test it out. They have not gone through the normal regular network of bigger network of people haven't really endorsed it. So they've been doing it there by themselves. So I think there's that part which has been a little harder for them as a small startup company trying to make their way into the game. And but overall, a lot of players who play with it are satisfied with the quality of paddle.
yeah,
Just, it has some specifications which are not anymore connected to the USAPA norm.
got
Uh,
it.
what a pickleball paddle should look like, or how you to interact. And it has
Okay,
happened so with other companies.
yeah.
Does that answer
Go
your
ahead,
question?
Randy. Yeah, it did. Yeah, I wondered, it was just paddles are really, we're all kind of geeking out on paddles now. So that was one I was looking at. Of course, I have another one, your paddle that I borrowed during the boot camp that I love. I have not gotten one yet, but yeah, we're just kind of looking at them. But when I saw that, I I respected that the company was really digging in and trying to do it the right way. And it just looked like there was an all of a sudden it like, how did this come about? So I just wondered if you had an opinion about that, or that clears things up. That's really good. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that's all I've got. Prem, Liz, anything else?
Nothing else. Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Liz.
I appreciate you all having me on and allowing me to speak and share my experience. We just had a wonderful time, and I'm so glad you've chosen to let us have you teach our peeps Smart Pickleball, and we're welcome anyone who loves to come to Jasper to learn as well, and we just look forward to seeing you in July.
Perfect. Thank you, Liz, and I'm very, very excited to come down to Jasper as well. And as usual, as always, I always say, go have fun on a pickleball court, and remember, it's only pickleball.
It's only pickleball. Thank you so much, Prem. Thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you,
Randy.
It's been wonderful. I liked the coaching, I liked the people, I liked the one-on-one. I see the court in a different way now. It's been very good. I can tell you, I have done other boot camp, or not boot camps, but other pickleball things. What I like about this best is the small number. You know, the small number, because you get that more one-on-one attention. There's more interaction with him playing on the court with you and telling you where to be and how to see the strategy and the breakdown of the court. Don't get that in the larger ones. You know, I've been at boot camps where there have been, you know, a lot of people, and yeah, they have a lot of different coaches, but they're floating around, and sometimes you're getting help and sometimes you're not. So this was very good.
So as I said before, as a fundamental part of my teaching is do everything and anything which buys you time. So if someone is hitting you a fast ball, you have little time to react to it. So that's one of the reasons why you dink, because you give yourself more time so that you're waiting for your opponent to make the mistake.
Tell them to definitely do it. I think it will improve your game. You'll get a lot of individual attention, and I'd do it again.
I would highly recommend it.
I would say sign up, because he makes it very easy, it's low-keyed, and there's no tension among the other people, no rivalry, it's all camaraderie.
Do it.
Yeah, absolutely do it. I would say do it. The the one-on-one, the intimacy, it's very good. You really do learn things.
Coach-student ratio is terrific.
Yeah, well, and he teaches certain things until you get it. You know what I mean? Very good.
I would tell them to definitely do it. That I love the personal attention. There's only 8 players, and so you get a lot of one-on-one instruction and focus. So definitely sign up.
Well, today funny that I got stopped by 3 strangers for about 20 minutes. And I keep telling them I have to go to the bathroom, but they want to know about it, and they said they've been watching, and I told them that if they really enjoy pickleball and they want to be better, and I also expressed to them that I have joined other clinics, but this is the one clinic that I feel that I am going to improve and really going to step up to the next level, because it's more of a mind game And that's what I take away from it. And I did recommend that they should read the book. And they said, yeah, we already took down the website from the banners on there. I said, absolutely. I said, read on the book on Amazon and then decide for yourself, because that's what my sister and I did. We read the book and we decided the camp would be good for us. Just wanted to say thank you. You guys go above and beyond to make sure that our every need, not just learning about pickleball, but also, our daily meals, the lunch, you pay to every little details. Whatever we need, you guys have it and ready. So we really appreciate that very much.
Just keep on keeping on because it's wonderful.